Hello everyone, Mr. Shepherd here again with some more maths, and our work for today is to read and write fractions. Okay, so what is a fraction? What are we talking about when we're talking about a fraction? Okay, what's our answer? A fraction is part of a whole. Okay, so here we've got a whole, okay, something all together, okay, whole, and then we've shaded one part of it, okay. Now, how many parts are there to our whole? How many equal parts to this whole? Well, we've got 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now there are 4 parts altogether. So at the bottom here, it's showing us how many parts are in the whole. Whatever the whole is, could be an orange, could be a pizza, could be a square like we've got up the top here. This part of the fraction is just telling us how many parts have we divided that whole into, whatever that whole is. 4 parts, okay, it's been divided into in this particular fraction. That's what this bottom number tells us. Okay, the top number here tells us that one part of that is shaded, or we are interested in one part out of the whole, or we've got one part. One part is the part that we're interested in, okay? We're not interested in 2 parts, we're interested in one part. And that is what this number at the top tells us. All right, so this fraction is one part out of 4. One part out of 4 equal parts. We call this a quarter. All right, what sort of fractions are these? What do we call these? What have we split these shapes into? How many equal parts have they got? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So they've all got 3 equal parts. Can you remember, what do we call something that's been divided into 3 equal parts? What's the name of the fraction? Okay, how many equal parts have been split into 3? What's the name of that fraction? 3 equal parts altogether. Now let's look at one of those parts. Okay, I'm not going to leave you in suspense. We call that a third, okay? Or it's been divided into thirds, all right? So we've got 3 equal parts in the whole in this fraction. Right, how many parts have been moved? How many parts? 1 part, okay? 1 part out of 3. All right. So this is what it looks like when we write a fraction. This is telling us that this particular part it's out of 3 equal parts, okay? It's 1 part out of 3 equal parts that make up the whole. All right? 3/3 make up the whole, okay? So for thirds, we know that we need 3 parts to make up the entire whole. All right? And here we're showing 1 part. All right, what is half? We've got half an orange here, half a glass of water, half of a circle, half of a watermelon. Right. Half means that something's been divided into 2 equal parts, and that we are interested in one of the parts, okay? So this altogether is not half, it's just that side that's half, isn't it? The green part is half, and the purple part on the right is half. Okay, half means 1 part out of 2 equal parts. Here we've got an orange. It's been divided in half. Okay, we've got 2 equal parts. We divided an orange into 2 equal parts. We're interested in 1 part. There's our part that we're interested in. So that is what our symbol here is showing us. It's telling us that we've got a whole. Our whole has 2 parts to it, and we are interested in one of those parts. Okay? We call this bottom number that tells us how many parts something's divided into, we call that a denominator. Okay? A denominator. That tells us what kind of fraction it is. It tells us how many parts the whole's been divided into. In this case, 2 parts. Okay? The numerator, the number at the top here, tells us how many of these equal parts we have or how many we're interested in. In this case, we've got 1 of the 2 parts, 1 out of 2 parts that we're interested in. Okay, we can of course divide up not only things like oranges and pizzas, we can divide up numbers of items or numbers of things. Here, we've got 6 marbles, and we're going to halve them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to halve those marbles, okay? Now, we've done it now. We've got 2 groups, okay? 2 groups of marbles. Each of those groups has 3 in it, okay? We've divided the marbles into 2 equal parts or groups, okay? So this is still a half. We've got 2 equal parts, and this shows us that we're interested in 1 of those parts, okay? We've divided into 2 equal parts or 2 equal groups, and we are interested in 1 of the groups. All right. Okay. 1 part out of 2 equal parts altogether. So half of 6 then is 3. We can see that it's 3. If we've got a whole made up of 6, and we divide it in half, in that half we will have 3. We'll have 3 on this side and 3 on this side when we create our 2 equal groups. Okay, so half of 6 is 3. Rightio. Now, this time we've got 6 balls. Okay, now let's see. We are going to move them into groups. How many groups have we created? We've created 3 groups. Are we dealing with halves this time then? Remember that we've got, in halves, we have 2 equal groups, don't we? And with this time, we've created 3 equal groups. So what are we dealing with now? It's not halves, is it? It is thirds, okay? 3 equal groups. And we're interested in 1 of those groups. So how many groups do we have? We have 3. What kind of fraction is this? It's thirds. How many groups are circled? We've got 1 out of the 3. So we've got 1/3. We have 1 of the parts or the groups. There are 3 equal parts, 3 equal groups. We have 1 of the parts. There are 3 equal parts that make up the whole. So we write it as 1/3. Remember that the denominator down the bottom tells us how many groups make up the whole. How many groups make up the whole? How many parts make up the whole? And then this tells us what are we interested in? We're interested in 1 of those parts. Just 1 of those 3 parts that make up the whole. Okay? So the denominator tells us how many equal parts make up the whole. The numerator tells us how many of those equal parts we have or we're interested in. Okay? 1 out of the 3 parts. How many parts we're interested in out of how many parts altogether. So what is 1/3 of 6? 1/3 of 6 is 2. Okay? If we split 6 into 3 equal groups, each of those groups is going to have 2 in it. So 1/3 of 6 is 2. Now, you can go and watch this video. That'll give you some more information. That's very good, explaining you through how we write fractions, and that's what we're looking at today, is how we write fractions. All right, and then you've got some questions to go on with. So you can go and do them now. Just pause the video, and then we'll have a look at the plenary. Okay, so for the plenary, we're going to look at finding quarter. How do we find quarter of a shape? Right, so here's a shape. What we've done is we've divided it in half. Okay, so we're going to show you here how can we make quarters. Now, to get quarters, we need 4 equal parts. How could we make 4 equal parts out of these 2 halves? Well, we're going to halve them again. Okay, we're going to halve them down the middle as well. Now, if we halve and halve again, we get quarters. Okay, we go from having halves, divided in half, and then we divide that in half again. We end up with quarters. All right, so we can make quarters by halving and then halving again. So how will you find quarter of a group of objects? Let's have a look. How many of these jelly beans have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right, let's halve the group. Now, we've got 2 equal groups. Each have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, how can we make 4 equal groups, do you think? You might be able to see it already. Okay, we are going to move those halves. I'll show you again. We've got half and half. We're going to move them. We're going to cut them in half again. Okay, so now we've got 3 in each group. We've got 4 equal groups with 3 jelly beans in each group. Let's have a look at it again. Okay, we start off with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, we're going to put them in half. We've got 6 now in each group. We're going to halve each of those groups again. Now, we've got 4 equal groups with 3 jelly beans in each group. So just like we could do with our shape, creating quarters by halving and then halving again, we can do the exact same thing with a group of objects. We can halve and halve again, or a number. We can halve and halve again to get quarters. Okay, and then we'll be able to find out how many are in each quarter, and then we'll know that in this case we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and we divided it into 4 equal groups. 3 was in each group, so we know quarter of 12 is 3. Okay, quarter of 12 is 3. All right, now we're on to our retrieval quiz. I'll have to move a bit quick because I think I'm going to run out of time here. Okay, I bought a rubber for 3p. I paid using a 10p coin. What is my change? Okay, so remember this work that we were doing from earlier, a few weeks ago. I bought a rubber for 3p. I paid using a 10p coin. What is my change? Use the coins to make my change. Okay, so we've got to use these coins to make the change. Well, we've got 10p. We bought a rubber for 3p. Okay, so if we gave the lady 10p and our rubber cost 3p, then we have to count backwards